Let's see, I guess I've watched a good amount this past week. It was a good week for anime watching. For starters, I finished Heaven's Lost Property, Forte, and I could see a reason to want to go on and watch the movie since there wasn't closure from the series, I guess. It resolved a major conflict, and it was an interesting conflict. But not enough to make me personally desire to see it again, other than maybe when I forget I'm like, and I decide I want to rewatch it again for some reason. Don't know, but hopefully the movie is going to, if it hasn't been released in Japan yet, going to come out in Japan, come out here soonish, and I can watch it, and it takes the series in a very interesting direction. If it doesn't, it's okay. But I did watch, I guess all the other anime I watched, I actually thought were pretty good. I guess if I were to go with the lowest hanging on the list, Mahoromatic, I'm Home. I watched it. It's basically 2 episodes or a 50-minute mini story that takes place in the middle of Mahoromatic, Something More Beautiful. Not exactly in the middle, closer to near the beginning-ish. Which makes me question how relevant its existence is. But it was a neat little thing. A kind of neat little Trump return to Mahoromatic. But much more so than other returns to series I've seen before. Because this one at least tries to embody a couple more of the concepts that made Mahoromatic enjoyable. Even if it didn't make it to the point of the series as a whole. This would be like, for example, the Cowboy Bebop movie, except that one was actually pretty awesome because Cowboy Bebop is really good for making a lot of standalone stories, whereas, okay, so it's not Cowboy Bebop the movie good, but it was good. It was nice. I'm not sure if it would be worth it to people who watch the series. It's not easy to tell in that regard because there's something about the series where the individual episodes that stand out as being really fun on their own, this doesn't compete with those in terms of standing out on its own. So it's more like a nice Trump little return to it. Oh, I guess I wasn't going to talk about it, but I did watch the first disc of Book of Bantorra, didn't I? I guess that would be slightly lower on the list from Mahoromatic, but not necessarily bad. Or maybe it would be somewhere around the same place. Where basically, it was interesting. But I need to say more and watch it overall to think if there's anything about it overall that catches me. As is right now, it occurred to me it has this look that a lot of other anime that look like this tend to cause me to not care as much, and I'm maybe vaguely feeling that a bit here, except there are little things about it that keep my interest a lot better than other anime of this look, and I don't know what that is. That's a very ambiguous concept, but it just, well, the look thing occurred to me before, but I've not had the time to think about and try and nail down exactly what that is. Is it the studio, the character design? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that finishes out, and of course I got the second collection of that, so I have the rest of it. Well, rather, I guess I have all of it, and I will be able to finish it, which is good. But then, now all that's left is spectacular stuff. Let's begin with Panty and Stocking with Garterbelt. It was so over the top, it was amusing. I mean, I don't know how to put it, but it was crazy. It's almost like whatever they took while making FLCL, they decided to take more of it. Or something along those lines. They're like, we need more, less subtle, crass humor in there, but to go overboard in such a manner that you know that they're really just messing with your head. And one thing that never occurred to me until my second time seeing it, because I didn't see all of it a second time, but I did see the first 7 or 8 episodes twice. Basically, it didn't occur to me until my second time poking around it that pretty much all the episode names are parodies on movie titles. I mean, I picked up on movie title parodying with a Chuck to the Future and had absolutely no idea why it had nothing to do with Back to the Future, especially since the Transformers parody was absolutely fucking hilarious. But then I started realizing that a lot of the other titles were obvious movie references. One of them, in which I didn't think about too much, because that's the kind of thing you sort of see here, like Raiders of the Nasal Dark? Something like that, which is clearly a play on words, play on the title Raiders of the Lost Ark. But there's more like Death Race 2010, which was based on a movie I've not heard of called Death Race 2000, and things like that. And it just, overall it was hilarious. It kept me entertained all the way through. I think it put itself so over the top that it kept me off guard and not knowing what to expect. And also knowing what to expect, but not knowing how it would happen, and then being still caught by surprise and amused by just the way it was happening. It was a very spectacular experience. And, speaking of spectacular experiences, fans of Naruto Shippuden, who've heard me talk about sets I've watched in the past, may be excited to know that I watched set 11, and it was spectacular. It reminds me of old Naruto a bit, where you would have these periods of not much happening, and then really fucking awesome thing happens, and then really fucking thing off. Well, it felt like Shippuden finally got around to doing that. It did a lot of major important things in this. It revealed a lot of major important information, and it didn't bullshit about presenting it in any way. A lot of interesting battles have happened in Shippuden, but these ones were more than just an interesting battle. They were also well presented and just barely smelling of the flaws of Naruto. And this is the sort of stuff where if you're into Naruto, it can be really easy to forget just how much bullshit you had to crawl through to get to this point, but it's being really spectacular at the moment, and maybe it's slowing down again. The last episode was getting kind of regular Shippuden-y that I've expected from it up till now, but 12 out of 13 episodes being good, it's awesome. And if you've gotten this far in Naruto Shippuden to set 10, I guess, and you haven't been sure whether or not you want to buy set 11, I would say you should probably buy set 11. I think you will not be disappointed if you've also bought that far into Shippuden, then obviously you had some enjoyment of the series, and I think you will find that set 11 is just excellent. So, there we go. That's the new stuff. I did rewatch a couple of old things, of course, for the movie party with the DVD collection people. I watched The Girl Who Leapt Through Time again, which is always a nice watch. That was Sunday, so yeah. I guess I can't comment too much more on that I haven't already. It's just a nice movie. I like the moral that it feels like it's putting out. I like the its silly form of humor. It's relevance. You know, it turns from a fun movie to a wow movie in the experience. I think Duels maybe said that while we were watching it, and that may be a really good way of putting it, where it's just kind of fun to get into, and then it just kind of gets important to get into, or rather important to finish. So there's that. I maybe I mentioned watching one episode of Outlaw Star, but you know, now I finally finished the first disc of Outlaw Star, rewatching it with a friend, and it's I'm really enjoying it. I kind of went from Cowboy Bebop to Outlaw Star simply because, in my mind, Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star, and Trigun are very closely coupled together, and I'm not sure if that's necessarily a valid coupling so much as at the time I was getting into anime then, those were the three main series that stood out as the first chunk of stuff to come after saying, oh my god, Evangelion. So, Outlaw Star is next on the list, and Trigun will probably be put high up on the chopping block, but may or may not happen, I don't know. But let's see. Rewatching Outlaw Star here, what can I say? There's some spectacular parts that happen in this first disc that I remember being spectacular, and I'm like, if that happened in the first episode, this would probably draw tons of people in. I'm really glad to know that the friend I'm watching with is also not turned off by Aisha Clan's constant yelling and screaming, because well, she starts doing that before you get to know her character, and then on the episode where you finally get to know her character, that's when it becomes rather endearing. In a strange way. It's very, very strange. But fun. And yeah, the only thing I don't think I'm noticing anything new this time around, since I've seen Outlaw Star a number of times. But I did forget that how much crass humor had been edited out for the Cartoon Network airing. And I guess sometimes I forget just how awkward it is when Melfina first shows up and she just doesn't seem to be doing much. But I also don't think it's necessarily inappropriate. But I guess I can't comment too much more on that. This is kind of like how the series opens up, and the reason I don't want to comment too much more on it is because, well, the friend's probably going to watch this video, and yeah, then we're going to continue on, and I don't want to accidentally reveal anything. So there we go. That's all the anime I watched. Only other stuff I watched was, oh wait. Oh, I did also rewatch the Goblin Cat story arc of Ayakashi Samurai Horror Tales, and that is spectacular as always. I just love it. One of these days, I'll take the DVD and I will just edit out the parts in between the two episodes so that it plays like one long movie. And along those lines, I wish Mononoke would come out on DVD. I'm very curious about it. I think it rates pretty high. Something else rated pretty high recently, didn't it? Oh yeah, but that's something that hasn't arrived yet. So, there we go. That is the last thing I watched. Total summary of everything, anime-wise, not including the non-anime things such as Adventure Time and Futurama, etc. So there we go. I guess I'm on to watching stuff that arrived this week.